Here with Paul Felder at the early weigh-ins ahead of UFC 246, ahead of the big main event between Conor McGregor and Cowboy Cerrone. Now, I know you're not allowed to per se give a prediction, but looking at this matchup, I mean, a lot of people are picking Conor McGregor. I'm just wondering, Paul, from your perspective, what would be the way of victory when you're looking at this fight from a guy like Cowboy Cerrone's perspective?
I think he's got to use his kicks almost immediately and not let Conor get settled, get comfortable, because he's so good at counter punching. If you rush him, he slides back so well with that left hand, and his takedown defense is better than people give him credit for, because Khabib beat him. People think, oh, he can't wrestle, he can't do jiu-jitsu. I say that's all nonsense, man. If you go back and really look at this guy's career and see the people he's fought and how he's handled himself, he's actually very good at jiu-jitsu, and he's got that first takedown that Khabib shot on him. He was D'ing that up for a long time, doing all the right things. It's just Khabib's a different animal, but I think Cowboy needs to go after the legs, go after the body, and try to put those kicks on his forearms, occupy that left hand so that Conor can't, throw those kicks, throw those punches as much as he would, and then start to look for the takedowns as the fight wears on. I think he's got to try to get it into that third round and progress. If he can get it finished there, that'd be great, but I think the further and deeper the fight goes, the better it is for Cowboy. And Conor, I think he's just got to be patient and wait for Cowboy to kind of come in, which Cowboy tends to do. He likes to mix it up. He says he's going to go and try to brawl on the feet with him a little bit, look for that counter shot. Cowboy's always had a little bit of trouble with really good boxers, and particularly southpaws. So that's where my concern would be for Cowboy in this one.
It's interesting hearing some of the things coming from Conor's camp and from Conor himself, saying that Kavanagh thinks it might go to the later rounds and Conor could get a finish there. Yeah. Conor kind of wants to get some rounds in as well. Do you think Conor has the ability to finish Cowboy in later rounds, or potentially win a decision if it goes there?
Yeah, we've seen it, right? We've seen him come back after a loss and fight a rematch with Diaz and look much better. His cardio looked better. He still faded, but come the fourth and fifth rounds, he found it, dug deep, found it to kind of find that energy and get the decision. So I think he could, but I just think in the fourth and fifth round, Cowboy's a beast. Even if he's hurt, his cardio is like, I've trained with him for years, man, and he's a cardio machine, that guy.
What do you think as far as Conor McGregor's layoff? It's such a long layoff. He suffered numerous broken hands, throughout that process.
That's something that's interesting. Yeah, the broken hand, and I've been seeing some people starting to talk about it on Twitter and social media and things like that. It was in May, right? Is what somebody said?
It was a few. Someone shook his hand when it healed and re-broke it.
So, and now you're going to go in there and you see when he's doing all his boxing workouts, he's having that thing wrapped by like a professional hand wrapper, so that thing is, the knot, he's got a boxing knot on that whenever he's doing pads. So I'd be a little concerned about if that breaks early in the fight, he's in a lot of trouble, because once those kicks start flying and you got to start putting that hand up to guard, it's going to be trouble.
Just a couple of quick last questions. The weight, obviously 170. Both guys aren't really huge guys for the division. Cowboy 6'1", Conor 5'9", but the reach advantage is still with Conor. How much of an effect do you think this weight will be for a guy like Conor McGregor, who isn't, typically a fighter in this weight class? He's better at lighter weights.
Yeah, I think it's kind of perfect, right? Because both guys are just going to come in full energy, right? I don't think size is going to play an issue at all, because Cowboy is not a huge welterweight. He said that himself, that he's barely walks around at 173, 174, doesn't cut much weight for welterweight at all. And Conor was 69 the other day. He's eating to try to be, he's not a featherweight, he's a 55er. So it's, I think this is the perfect sweet spot where this is kind of what they both walk around at. Let's meet in the cage and just have a fist fight and not have to worry about cutting 30 pounds before we do it. So I think it's great as far as the performance. I think the only problem is it's going to muddy up the divisions a little bit, right? Because now you got two guys fighting at welterweight. One of them's talking about fighting Masvidal and all these big fights. Cowboy's not sure what he wants to do, so it's just here we go again with not sure, knowing where things are going to land.
Well, I was going to say, obviously, your division super packed lightweight, but Dana White's already talking about a title shot for Conor McGregor. If he wins here, you got Masvidal trying to get this McGregor fight for the BMF title. From your perspective, what would you like to see Conor McGregor do next if he gets this win this weekend?
Honestly, I don't really mind which division he picks, because he's the biggest draw in MMA, right? So if he wants to stay in my division, that's great. Mix it up, fight for that belt. As long as you just kind of stick to a schedule, which I don't see that happening, unfortunately. I see him jumping around, and I wouldn't mind him going to 70, but I think he could win a lot of fights at 170. I just don't know if he's going to get past the Kamaru Usmans, the Colby Covingtons, the guys that are a lot bigger and can grapple and continue to grapple for 25 minutes if they need to. Might not be the most exciting fight. They might be the, crotch sniffers or whatever he's calling them. But
I mean, Masvidal, striking-wise, from your perspective?
I think that's a tough fight for Conor. But that is a fight, like I've seen a lot of other people saying, take my money right now. I would watch that fight. But again, if you're going to do that, then you kind of have to stay with that welterweight, trajectory. And if you beat a guy like Masvidal, the next shot is definitely the title after that one.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're excited to see you take on Dan Hooker at UFC Auckland very, very shortly. Thank you so much for your time. And we can look forward to your work this weekend on the broadcast desk as well. Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you, guys. Always a pleasure. Thank you.